A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kano State, Engineer Abba Kabir Yusuf, all members of the High Table, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. I was expecting that the keynote address would be projected, but maybe something happened, I'm not sure. I have two versions. The main keynote address has been submitted, and I'm presenting the PowerPoint version. So it's maybe a summary of the actual keynote address. The objectives of my address are as follows: to highlight challenges of basic education in Kano State. But before that, let me start by wholeheartedly congratulating His Excellency for boldly declaring state of emergency in the education sector. Your Excellency, I congratulate you, I congratulate all people of Kano State, and even as that neighbors, and maybe those living with you, we are also very happy for that. And we wish you well, because it's one thing to declare, and it's also another thing to implement. So we are wishing you well. We are wishing you well. And also to present solutions towards addressing the challenges, and also provide an initial action plan so that we implement what we are willing to see in the education sector in Kano State. As a background, Kano State is historically a global center of excellence in terms of commerce, in terms of culture, in terms of learning and politics. And it has diverse parts of Nigeria. Diverse parts of Nigeria also depend on Kano, on both raw and finished goods. It is a home to great entrepreneurs, and people are always relying on Kano for several other things. So despite remaining a center of commerce and industry, there are missing links in its reputation for excellence. This continued to affect the growth of economic, social, and other activities. The state in the recent past has not kept pace with the requirements for sustainable development. And the key to this is certainly the existence of an education sector that takes into account the present and future requirements of the state. The challenges of basic education as a historical center of learning, Kano should lead the way in the delivery of quality education. Neglect of education over the years has eroded progress in diverse areas. And there are several challenges, including that of out-of-school children. I wish you can see, because I have a table that is showing the zonal representation in terms of out-of-school children. If we look at the North Central states, the highest number with out-of-school children in the North Central is Niger State, with 42.8%. The lowest in that zone is FCT, which is 12.8%. And when we go to the Northeast, the highest out-of-school children in the Northeast is Yobe, with 62.9%, followed by Bauchi, 55%, Borno, 54%, and then the lowest there is Adamawa with 21.9%. When we go to our own, that is Northwestern states, the highest with out-of-school children in the Northwest is Kebbi State. Kebbi is having 67.6% out of school, followed by Sokoto, 66.4%, and then Zamfara, 61.3%, all within Kebbi Sokoto axis. And then, of course, followed by Jigawa, 51.1%, and then we have Katsina, 45%, and here Kano is having 39.2% out of school. And the one with the lowest number of out of school is Kaduna with 21.9%. And this scenario in the north is quite different from that scenario in the southern part of the country. When we look at the southeastern states, the one with the highest number of out of school in the southeast is Enugu, which has only 7.5% out of school. And then the one that is having the lowest there, Ebonyi is having 16.7%, then Enugu 7.5%. And the one with the lowest there is Anambra with just 2.9% out of school. And when you go to the south-south, the one with the highest number out of school is Edo State with just 11.3%. And then the one with the lowest there is Rivers with Bayelsa, 7.4%. And in the southwest, the one with the highest, we have like 2. Oyo is having 20.9% out of school. Ogun is having 20.5 out of school. But then the one with the lowest there is Ekiti State, with just 5.1% out of school. So the two scenarios are actually different. Then the high number of out-of-school children, access to basic education for Kano State children is extremely poor. The state has an estimated 1 million out-of-school children. Some say 800 plus, some 900 plus, but it's about 1 million that are running out of school. This translates to 39% of school-age children not participating in education, and a substantial number of these are girls. Poor infrastructure for education. Infrastructure for education in the state is extremely poor and inadequate. I'm happy that the governor himself, His Excellency, has identified all these challenges. So I'm not going deeper into that because he has already presented in his declaration all these problems. Most of them are not conducive for learning, they are not child-friendly, and there is challenge of sanitation. And a selection of challenges in facilities in schools in Kano State, based on a research which I happen to have led by Sir Ahmed Bello Memorial Foundation, which was conducted some years back, the classroom sufficiency in Kano State was 36.7%. Libraries and textbooks 50%, laboratories 32.2%, water supply 64.1%, power supply 40.6%, computers 10.8%, and internet access 9.5%, based on the research that we have conducted. And then teaching and learning resources, we have inadequate number of qualified teachers, low incentive schemes to attract and retain qualified teachers, inadequate teaching and learning materials, laboratories and workshops and libraries, and lack of institutional development and political will. There has been poor political will in the development of the education, but we are happy that we are having one which we hope that will deliver. And we have confidence in you, sir. Institutional approach to education management is also extremely poor. And we believe that with the effort that will be made in the next few years, that we can arrive somewhere. So His Excellency resolved to address the challenges of basic education in the state. He had a declaration of emergency on the sector, and in line with his commitment to transforming education in the state, the governor, His Excellency Engineer Abubakar Yusuf, declared a state of emergency on education in the sector. And he declared that as your elected governor, entrusted with solemn responsibility of steering our state towards prosperity and progress, I cannot ignore the glaring reality that confronts us in the realm of education. We must therefore take radical but practical steps to reposition education provisioning in our states. We pray for you, sir. Inshallah, you deliver. So his vision in declaring a state of emergency education in Kano State includes, as he has mentioned, that every school, a good school, every child, an enrolled child, every student, an engaged learner, every teacher, a caring educator, every parent, a supportive partner and committed investor in human capital development. And we pray that it happens. His Excellency's vision indicates his understanding of what is needed for a quality basic education system, including implementation of reforms, mobilization of resources, availability of infrastructure, teaching and learning resources. These are also demonstrated by allocation of 29.5% of the said budget to education plans, and his plan to construct 300 laboratories and 1,000 classrooms. Education is a key to dynamism. His Excellency's declaration is the very key to our development. It is in line with key national and legal and policy provisions. It will develop citizens to be assets to society and ensure the availability of quality human resources. It will ensure the participation of youth in the national economy, and it will strengthen the state and its competitive standing in the global environment. The key considerations for delivering the emergency on education. In order to ensure the attainment of His Excellency's vision on education for Kano State, a number of actions are necessary. And this is the main presentation, because my part is to provide some solutions that hopefully, if they are followed, will arrive somewhere. And some of these are highlighted below. Number one, needs assessment. A comprehensive needs assessment of basic and secondary education in the state should be carried out that covers all schools. This will identify issues in relation to access, the actual number of learners, and those not participating in education. And we'll look at the issue of quality in terms of infrastructure, in terms of teachers, in terms of teaching and learning materials. Strategic approach. Success in implementing His Excellency's vision is based on having a strategic approach. Comprehensive medium-term education strategic document should be developed for the state. This should be the first line of action. It will provide a coordinated approach to addressing the challenges. It will identify key strategies and activities, provide information on responsibilities for action, and also provide timeline for implementation of goals. The political will is also key to attaining the vision. His Excellency has already done so by having this about 30% of the budget to education, and that we hope will be followed by actual release of funds. This must be sustained through commitment of relevant agencies and their officials, including State Ministry of Education. I'm happy the Honorable Minister is here and happy to have had his own part. The State Universal Basic Education Board, the local education authorities, and the schools. They all need to be rally around His Excellency in order for the vision to emerge. It's one thing for the governor to have his political will, but then if the agents are not really participating in what is happening, then nothing will happen. We'll be in the office thinking that things are happening, and unfortunately, maybe they're not happening elsewhere. So we really need to have our hands on deck. Success of the vision of His Excellency is also dependent on institutional approach. Emphasis should therefore be on sustained institutional development among education agencies. From the ministries, agencies, and schools, every institution must have full competence of officials with the capacities for efficient implementation of education programs. Development and strengthening of national systems. The national systems are key to success in the implementation of quality education programs. The state must work on ensuring the availability of this. This includes the issue of monitoring and evaluation, ensuring continuous and efficient monitoring and evaluation programs, program implementation, and then provide information on stages of implementation and support necessary review of implementation processes and enhance success. And then data collection and management. We need to ensure the availability of accurate and reliable data. This is one thing that is also worrying us all over the country. We do not have that reliable data to work with. Somebody will say 1 million, somebody will say 800, somebody will say 900, and they all have their sources. So we really need to work on data. It will support, among other things, decision-making and efficient allocation of resources. Guidance and counseling, it is to support the success of teaching and learning. Every school must have a professional in this area. They will support learners, teachers, and parents towards quality outcome. They also support better success in the personal and professional aspirations of learners. Teacher development needs assessment. This ensures the availability of information on the state of teachers in the state. It will help the state to make accurate decisions regarding teacher needs for the system. Monitoring of learning achievement. This also supports the monitoring of learning in schools. It will provide information on the effectiveness of the education programs. This will enable decisions on approaches that are effective and those that may need revision to enhance further effectiveness. Promoting access to basic education. Due to the high number of out-of-school children, there needs to be programs aimed at promoting access to basic education. This is in line with His Excellency's vision to provide education opportunities for all children. Key strategies that need to be strengthened include integrating basic education into Islamic education. There should be collaboration with the Quranic schools. Basic education should be integrated into the programs of the schools. This will enable the Al-Majri to have the best of both worlds. It will open them up to greater opportunities in society. Conditional grants. Conditional grants to parents should also be strengthened. This is especially to encourage girls' education, as some parents use their daughters to fend for their families. The state should ensure that federal programs benefit Kano State proportionately. The conditional grants will also help to address the challenge of poverty in society. Textbooks and school uniforms. Key textbooks and school uniform must also be made available to all learners. This one also I need to explain. I know we have large number of students in school in Kano. So can we really provide school uniform to all of them? If we can, fine. That's the best we can. But if we cannot, we need to have a plan. Are we starting from year one? We have all year one this year with uniform, and then next year we move to year two, next year to year three. There has to be a program in terms of achieving the issue of school uniform. But sir, if you can do it for all, I think it is better. This will help to remove the pressure from parents on the procurement of this for their children. His Excellency's initiative on this is also an excellent step. The issue of girl child education will also be given the prime of place. Girls must be provided with the opportunities to excel. Incentive schemes must be provided to encourage girls' enrollment. This includes grants to parents to discourage sending them to work, to support the family, provision of textbooks and uniforms, availability of female teachers, and provision of exclusive sanitation facilities. This appears to be something that is minor, but it is very critical to girls. So we need to take attention, to put attention on sanitation facilities. Educating the Almajiri. They keep up most of the out-of-school children. They make up most of the out-of-school children in Nigeria, particularly in our zone, especially here in Kano. They should therefore be targeted in the design of programs for access to education. There should be targets for participation in technical and vocational education programs. This will support them with skills to function better in society. And we need to have an approach that probably will hope to have continuity. If I can make a recall, or if we can recall back, when I had the opportunity to be a minister of education in the country, there was this issue of Almajiri education. And what we did at that time was to identify all the areas, all the states, particularly all the northern states, and some 2 or 3 states in the southern part, who also are having problem of out-of-school children. And we had a design. We built schools, some of them were boarding, some of them were day, and then we had a program that every year, each state will now look at their own situation and then continue to enroll these out-of-school children, particularly this Almajiri. So that in the next 5, 10 years, at our vision that time, we will not have any Almajiri out of school. But unfortunately, because of the nature of the country, some things do not really continue. Some of the schools were even converted to something else. So we need to do something, sir, on this Almajiri issue. Promoting the quality of education, ensuring the quality of education delivery is also key to attaining His Excellency's vision of education. The key elements for quality, which must be given attention also, are as follows. The issue of infrastructure, we need to have quality infrastructure for the delivery of education programs. His Excellency has already shown his commitment to this through his pronouncements. In addition to new ones, existing infrastructure must be comprehensively rehabilitated to meet 21st century standard. Teaching and learning resources. Teaching and learning resources must also be adequate for all teachers and learners. This includes the textbooks, laboratories, workshops, and libraries. Integration of technology in teaching and learning. Integration of technology in teaching and learning process must also be emphasized. Digital literacy should be emphasized for teachers and learners. Computer laboratories must also be provided with access to diverse devices for teaching and learning. And related to this, also provision of access to internet and related services to enhance the teaching and learning processes. Teacher recruitment, development, and retention. Teachers are responsible for the delivery of the curriculum and therefore central to education. So attention must be given to the recruitment and retention of qualified teachers. Incentive schemes for retention must be provided. This includes regular payment of salaries, professional development, housing, and transportation. Technical and vocational education. Technical and vocational education will also be given emphasis in His Excellency's vision on education. This is because of the role of this type of education in developing skills and capacities for industries. Youth should be mobilized to actively participate in technical and vocational education. They can be attached to established organizations to further develop their skills in these areas. Funding and funding sources. Availability of funds is also key to the implementation of the vision of His Excellency on education. If there are no funds, whatever plan we may have may really not work. So diverse sources must be explored to ensure sustainable funding of the programs. Key funding sources for the implementation of education programs also include the following. Number one, budgetary allocation for education. It is the primary source of funding. And we're happy to have about 30% for education for Kano, which is a very good step in the right direction. This must be released as and when due. And the political commitment of His Excellency is expected to ensure that this happens. Intervention funds. Intervention funds also, such as those from UBEC, is also very essential to support implementation of the programs. The state must also provide its counterpart funds as and when due. Organized private sector through corporate social responsibility are also key supporters of education. The state should explore this comprehensively. It should also collaborate with the large base of private sectors in the state. Development partners, I'm happy to have some of them here. Kano State has in the past been supported by development partners in the areas of education. The state should continue to explore this and also use experiences gained from their interventions to further develop education in the state. And the public-private partnership is also critical. The state should explore this and utilize the PPP in the development of infrastructure. This will enable them to raise long-term capital for the implementation of immediate needs of education in the state. Long-term financing of education. The state can also explore long-term finance for the implementation of education programs. This includes sourcing long-term finance, which can be for a term of up to 25 years from organizations such as the World Bank, Islamic Development Bank, Africa Development Bank, and others. Special interventions from the federal government. These are emphasized that the uniqueness of Kano State means that it is essential to the development of Nigeria. The federal government, therefore, needs to provide special support to complement the efforts of the state. I'm happy to have the representative of the Honorable Minister of Education. I hope you will pass this information, that there is need for a special intervention for some of the states. But the number one state is Kano State. With a large number of out-of-school children, with a large number of population, apart from the UBEC funding and others, there's supposed to be something special that will also attract people to have them in school. So you please on that. So special intervention in Kano and related social services will help to boost development both in the state and in the country. There could be other states in the country, but Kano is number one, definitely. Then direct disbursement of funds to schools. Schools are responsible for the implementation of education programs. Most of the time, they have little resources to do this. As part of its reform, the state should work on disbursing funds directly to schools to implement programs based on their identified needs. This will enable the schools to be held accountable for the performance of learners and their work. The capacities of school officials should also be strengthened to plan and implement their programs. Partnership with external agencies. The state should continue to seek partnership with internal and external agencies to support education quality. Partnerships could be in the areas of funding, sharing resources, training and capacity development. Advocacy and community participation. Community participation is key to the success of the implementation of the education programs. Advocacy and enlightenment are key to this. There should be consistent advocacy and enlightenment of these programs. This should also involve traditional, religious, and community leaders, as well as non-governmental organizations. At some levels, we may have passed this, but since we are still having this large number out of school, we need to also revisit earlier programs, or earlier interventions, or earlier methods. So what I did at the end, Your Excellency, is provide a sketchy initial action plan, which will help us to deliver in terms of all the pronouncements that we have made. To support the attainment of the vision of His Excellency, an initial suggested action plan is put forward as follows. I have activity, justification, responsibility, and timeline. Number one, Your Excellency, is to appoint a team for development of state medium-term education sector plan. The availability of strategic document to guide the attainment of the governor's vision, the education vision. And the responsibility here, Your Excellency, is your own. It is your baby, it's your own, and then, of course, your Honorable Commissioner will also assist you. And this, I expect that you can do this within the month of July. Have a team to work on this, to come up with something. Within the month, you can do that. And then, secondly, develop education strategic plan. Availability of a document that provides direction in achieving the state education goals based on analysis of challenges and comprehensive stakeholder input. This will lead us to have a strategic plan or develop a strategic plan. So in this case, we are developing that plan. And I expect that to be done in the month of October. So by October, we can have a plan ready for implementation. And then in the same October, sir, we expect that you can unveil or launch the state education strategic plan. This will highlight the details of strategic plan to ensure that the wider stakeholder community are aware of their roles in the success of the plan. And then this is squarely, sir, your own responsibility. And this we expect that by October also it is done. And the same thing to be done is in October is also to appoint implementation monitoring team and then also implementation team. So you have two teams here. The team that will monitor the implementation and the team that will do the implementation. So steering committee to oversee implementation and implementation team to work closely with agencies and groups in implementation. Presentation to stakeholders should be done every 3 months on the progress of implementation. This is the only way, sir, that you can check whether what you want is being achieved. So after every month, your team will now sit down, and then they will now walk over and see wherever we have problems, then we can now revisit, and then we can do something else. And this also is squarely your own, Your Excellency, as well as your Honorable Commissioner of Education. And this also, we expect that by October, it is done. So the plan is that by October, we have a plan with us. And then we have a team that will work on the plan. And with this, I'm sure, inshallah, things will work out well. So in conclusion, I will need to say Kano State is one of the most strategic states in Nigeria. Its success is Nigeria's success and can lead to competitive advantage. Quality education is key to maintaining Kano's strategic position. And neglect of the sector over the years has led to challenges. His Excellency, Engineer Abba Kabir Yusuf, has declared emergency on the education sector to address these challenges through comprehensive reform. He must be supported from every angle to ensure the success of the plan, the vision. It is my hope that this presentation will provide some help towards attaining this vision. I hope so, sir. I congratulate you. And I thank you for listening.